Um, Good evening, class. I had a shock. As soon as I put on my computer at 6 p.m., the light went off, so I had to get my generator on. I don't know whether some people had lights off too. Did anybody have, if you are in the Legon area or Medina area, did your lights go off? Hello? Can you hear anybody? Please, can you hear me? Hear anybody? Can you hear anybody? Can you hear anybody? Okay. You know why? Let me see. Mm. Hello? Focus on mute us. Okay. Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
sir, we can hear you now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't know that you were all muted. Okay. Good. I said my light just went over 6:05 or 6:05. I don't know whether those in the Medina, Legon, North Legon area, you had the same issue. Hmm. Anyway. Okay, so please let's start. Last week when we met, we had a very interesting discussion where we looked into the rise of AI and how it has an implication on our business, our data security and data and privacy issues. Today we'll continue where we left off, and then we'll go into web security, which I promised that we'll do that last week. Yeah. Okay. Some people are at Pokwasi. Okay. Good. So we talked about responsible AI, where I talked about the fact that it refers to the ethical and accountable deployment, and use of AI technologies, and focuses on a number of principles. That's transparency, fairness, accountability, and human well-being. So, in looking at that, we talked about the first principle, that's transparency and explainability of AI. Meaning that when a business is actually deploying an AI application, you have to make sure that they make the AI algorithm transparent by providing insight into how it works and how it makes decisions. This transparency enables regulators and users and the stakeholders to understand how the AI that has been deployed arrives at conclusions, and then they can take appropriate actions to mediate that decision-making process when necessary, or be able to troubleshoot when there is some biases in it. Okay. For example, in the banking sector, responsible AI policies may require financial institutions to provide customers with clear explanations for automated credit decisions by disclosing the factors and the logic behind credit assessments, and customers can have better visibility into the process and raise concerns if they suspect any biases. That's for transparency. Explainability allows AI algorithms to be audited. So now we don't just audit IT applications, we can audit the AI algorithms too, to audit and scrutinize for potential biases or discriminatory outcomes. By identifying and addressing these biases, businesses can improve the fairness and trustworthiness of their AI systems. The next thing I'll look at is a case that tries to illustrate this particular story, this particular scenario of transparency and explainability. And today, I don't know who will volunteer to read for us. Who volunteered to read for us? I always call people, but today I see a number of people here with me. So which of you volunteered to read for us? Nobody wants to volunteer. Please, if you volunteer, it doesn't mean you are too known. It means that you're helping the lecturer, and then the lecturer is marking your examination. He can remember you. Abigail, okay. Thank you, Abigail. Let's go ahead.
Case study, Nia and Talent Find. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Afritech, a young entrepreneur named Nia was excited to launch her innovative AI-powered called Talent Find. The platform aimed to streamline the hiring process for businesses and provide job seekers with more opportunities. Nia believed that her AI algorithms could help identify the most qualified candidates for each job, revolutionizing the recruitment industry. As Talent Find gained popularity, businesses flocked to the platform, eager to leverage its AI capabilities. However, as time went on, concerns started to emerge. Job applicants noticed inconsistencies in the platform's decisions. Some highly qualified candidates were being overlooked, while others with less experience were advancing in the hiring process. Rumors of biased decision-making began to circulate, tarnishing Talent Find's reputation. Nia knew she had to address these concerns to maintain the trust of both businesses and job seekers. She understood the importance of transparency and explainability in AI algorithms. With her team of data scientists and AI experts, Nia embarked on a mission to uncover the root causes of these discrepancies. They conducted a comprehensive audit of Talent Find's algorithms, analyzing the data sets and the decision-making processes. As they delved deeper, they discovered that the algorithm were inadvertently reflecting the biases inherent in the historical data used for training. The data contained subtle biases in terms of gender, ethnicity, and educational background, which led to skewed outcomes in candidate selection. Realizing the importance of transparency, Nia decided to make a bold move. She revamped Talent Find's interface, providing users with a new feature called Insightful Decisions. This feature allowed businesses and job seekers to understand how the AI algorithms arrived at their recommendations for each candidate. With a click of a button, businesses could now see the key factors in decision. The platform provided explanations about the weight assigned to different qualifications, experiences, and skills, empowering businesses to identify potential biases and make informed decisions. For job seekers, Talent Find provided feedback on why they were not selected for certain roles, highlighting the specific skills and qualifications that may have been lacking. This transparency helped job seekers understand how they could improve their profiles and increase their chances of securing their desired positions. Nia also took steps to address the biases in the algorithm. She worked closely with her team to refine the training data, ensuring it was more diverse and representative of the population. The algorithms underwent rigorous testing and validation to verify that they were fair, unbiased, and aligned with Talent Find's values for inclusivity and equal opportunities. The introduction of transparency and explainability transformed Talent Find's reputation. Businesses and job seekers appreciated the platform's commitment to fairness and the opportunity to understand the decision-making process. Nia's efforts to address biases and promote responsible AI practices not only restored trust in Talent Find, but also set a precedent for other AI-powered platforms in Afritech. Through her journey, Nia learned firsthand the importance of transparency and explainability in AI algorithms. She realized that by making AI systems more understandable and accountable, businesses could ensure fair outcomes, build trust with users, and contribute to a more inclusive and equitable society. Question 1. What challenges and considerations should businesses and AI developers take into account when implementing transparency and explainability in AI algorithms? And these challenges be overcome to ensure effective communication and understanding for users?
Thank you very much, Abigail. So that's the question that we have here.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you work? Is it at TV3 or any of these media houses? You did a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so what challenges and considerations should businesses and AI developers take into account? Yes, let's discuss it. So what do we learn from here in terms of building these platforms, and then how we could implement transparency and explainability in AI algorithms? Is it a must for companies to do so? Most of you have been applying to University of Ghana, and we don't know whether AI is what decides on whether you get admitted or not. But if AI was part of it, or even if AI is not part of it, there's human AI in it. What kind of transparency and explainability would you like to receive from us? Looking at it. Yes. Elizabeth and Co. Ernest, Victoria, Samuel, Richard, Jedu. Let me hear from you guys. Manolabi, Nadia, Honorable now. Let's hear from you. What do you guys think? Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, Elizabeth, please go ahead.
Sir, please, I think in the case study, bias was mentioned, and I believe it's important because AI, we had mentioned before that some AI use historical data for their functioning. So if there is a high risk of bias, it should be made known to whoever is using the AI algorithm. So the challenge or the risk of bias should be something that should be considered when AI developers are developing AI.
Okay. So the thing is that AI is not something that you sit there and see as it being developed. In every application that we develop, from what you are saying, we should be able to make the application accountable and understand how the application works. For example, you apply to something and they don't take you. How many organizations actually give you detailed explanation on how to make their choices and what could have gone wrong? They don't do that, even if it's not AI driven. But this transparency and then explainability is what we're advocating for in AI algorithms, because the algorithms take decisions that are sometimes human decisions. And you ask yourself that, how did it arrive at that answer? And the reason why that matters is because that algorithm was trained by another human being using some data. And that training program could have biased it. And you can say that as soon as you see that the person is coming from, let's say, Konongo, make sure that the person is giving operational job activity. But if the person is coming from, let's say, Damango, give him directorship or office activity. So if you're not very careful and the data is saying such a thing, or the data says that all the people who come from this particular town are likely to have, let's say that you put in Manola, we are disturbing us.
Can you kindly
Please, you can be
your column?
Okay, yeah, skill correctly. So if for example, if the AI was trained by a data set that has information concerning, let's say, student performances in BEC or even SSC, and then or the senior high school exam, WASSCE exams, and then you end up realizing that people from a particular town always score 6 A's and a B, and another town is very hardly for you. It's hardly for you to get even a pass mark. Now, if that is fed into the system and it keeps on learning that, if you're not very careful and somebody declares in an application that is coming from, let's say, a town that is being qualified or tagged by the AI, that people don't do well, it might not see that particular application to be a likely candidate for the job or for the admission as expected because of what the data set is telling it. So it's not just about what we taught, how we taught the system, but even the data that we are going to use to teach the system, we have to know that is the data void of biases, or does it tend to, at that time of, let me give an example that maybe at a time that let me use another example. Let's say that, remember this week, our honorable IGP has come on to that committee, parliamentary committee, and he talked about the fact that before his term, there used to be some type of crime on specific rules. And if you are traveling, you have to pray whether you get home or you not get home. Now, just in case, the database of an AI that is supposed to give traffic, direct traffic, and give you advice on where to pass if you want to be able to travel. Now, that database is fed with information that that particular route has armed robbery on it, and the database is updated up to the time that when the Dampare come into power, I think was appointed. Is it 2017 or 2018? Those of you remember 2017? Is it 2017? Oh, I'm talking to people here. Nobody's responding. Or you all don't know. Let's say he was appointed in 2017, and your data you have taught the system up to 2016. So currently, the database that you have for that AI, it learns that particular route, let's say the route at Isawim, has this form of crime there. So if you come into 2023 and you ask it to give you a route to maybe Kumasi, it may try to avoid that particular route because it wants to give you a safe route, a route that has less likelihood of having armed robbery. Because that data has not been updated, it still knows that route to be a route of crime. So it will avoid that route and give you another route. That's what it's trying to do. The system, what is happening here. What we use to feed it has certain biases in it. It doesn't mean that somebody intentionally created a bias. That may be the truth. But when situations improve, you need to update that AI and this learning. Otherwise, the data it is relying on can be flawed, and that data can be making decisions in 2023 based on data that had been fed prior to 2026, 2017. Please, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Hello? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are some of the things that we have to take into consideration when we are building such AI algorithms. Okay, so let's continue. Say fairness and discrimination in decision making. The next one, that the first principle is transparency and explainability. The next one is fairness and non-discrimination. Ensuring fairness and non-discrimination AI decision is another critical principle. So we want to try and make sure that our AI itself is designed to avoid biases. And sometimes in the recruitment process, responsible AI policies may require businesses to use AI systems that eliminate biases based on gender, race, or protected characteristics. These policies can establish guidelines for evaluating and selecting AI tools that demonstrate fairness in candidate selection, promoting equal opportunities for all applicants. So if we want to ensure fairness and non-discrimination, it has to be built into the system. we have to consider variables that lead to such biases, and some variables have been listed here. Some, one of them being gender, age. Sometimes can even be with even age. We have all gender and race here. It can even be with age. Can even be with level of income. That can lead to certain biases in the data. So what he's trying to tell us is that in evaluating and selecting AI tools, we should focus on AI tools that give you the flexibility of eliminating such unfairness or discrimination within its decision-making process. But this is very difficult because sometimes to certain societal biases and trade-offs may exist for specific interventions. So the data may be there so that you can pull it out and say that, okay, because of this, we know that, let me use an example that happens in UG. For example, we realize that sometimes when you have about a number of Ghanaian students, out of about 2,000 Ghanaian students registered, you may have only about 200 of them being Nigerians. Now, if you want to pick 20 students to go and do an activity or to give for an opportunity, maybe a scholarship opportunity, 20 random students. If you just go to the street and go and pick, or you just use the names of students to go and pick, the challenge you have is that you end up picking only Ghanaians for a very large point, a very large possibility that, or high probability that you are going to be choosing only Ghanaian students. The only way that you can be able to make sure that Ghanaian students are picked and Nigerian students are picked is to do stratified sampling. So you have to change your sampling approach, and that AI has to be taught that. So, for example, if it's going to choose, it will, let's say you have got, let me use a smaller number, 200, and only 20 of them are Nigerians. Now, it means that you are going to pick, you look at the ratio, and then you say that maybe it's, I think if you cancel it, you're going to have, for every 10 people, you can have one Nigerian. Am I right? 20, and yes, for every 10 people, we can have one Nigerian. So if you are picking 20, you are picking 20 people. For every 10 people, you are going to have one Nigerian. So you are picking 20 people. That means that 2 of them have to be Nigerians. So that 18 of them, you pick it from the 180 Ghanaians, and then the two Nigerians you have to pick, you pick it only from the 20 Nigerians that exist in the large population of the 200. If you don't do that stratified sampling, what you end up realizing is that you, all the time that you pick, you only pick only Ghanaians for largely. You end up picking Ghanaians largely. So it means that in our system, in developing our system, we have to think about the inherent biases that exist in the data itself, which may not be caused by the developer or anybody, but it's how society itself is structured. So if that inherent biases are there, if you are going to select people to benefit from some intervention, how do you make sure that there's some fairness in it so that there's equal representation or fair representation from the smaller population groups? These are some of the things that we need to consider. Okay. Then privacy and data protection. Privacy and data protection are fundamental consideration for responsible AI policies. AI systems often rely on vast amount of data, and it's crucial to ensure that personal and sensitive information is handled securely. Okay, so in our data lifecycle, we should make sure that our responsible AI policies should not just cover how we use the AI, but how we collect, how we use the data, but how we collect the data, how we use the data, how we store the data, how we share the data. Businesses must obtain informed consent when collecting personal data and implement robust security measures to safeguard the data. And that means that we also have to educate people, users when we are collecting our data, that we are using it for maybe non-commercial purposes, and then we are going to anonymize it so that we cannot identify any particular user in it. So there, anybody that we give it to, even a third party, we shouldn't be able to identify any of the people's data that we use. So we have to actually redact some of the data and some of the information that are identifiable. And last week, we talked about identifiable information when we look at some examples. Okay. For instance, in the health sector, responsible AI policies may require organizations to adopt privacy-preserving techniques that allow for AI analysis while protecting patient confidentiality. And that's a very difficult thing because you have to balance both. I gave you an example a few weeks ago where I was talking about a project that we had in Uganda, in which it was about AIDS and people texting to ask about AIDS information and then also booking to go and do a test. So we're working with MTN. I was trying to explain to you that on our side, we couldn't identify who was making the call, but we knew what the person was requesting for, whether he wanted to ask for HIV/AIDS information or advice or where to go and take a test. But on the other side from MTN, they could see, they couldn't also identify who was making the call, but they could be able to know where the call is coming from or some certain basic information that they need to be able to work as MTN, but they don't need to be able to identify what the person was requesting for. So that was how we were able to decouple identifiability from the data that we were going to use to be able to analyze our healthcare intervention. Okay, accountability and responsibility. Accountability and responsibility are essential principles that underpinning responsible AI policies. They should be held accountable. Means that we should have clear lines of responsibility for the development, deployment, and monitoring. And then we should also have, if there's some punitive measures, it should also be clear. For example, if you collect consumer data and you don't use it appropriately or you don't store it appropriately and it gets leaked out, what are some of the punitive actions that will be taken on the organization that has led to that, or that's whose negligence has led to that? That should be very clear. Okay, for example, responsible AI policies may require businesses to establish AI ethics committee or designate an AI ethics officer who is responsible for overseeing AI-related activities, conducting the risk assessments, and promoting ethical decision making, which is very, very important. Okay. Now, we also have to think about addressing and rectify any harm or negative consequences resulting from AI systems. And that leads us to what we call incident response planning. If an incident happens, what is your response? What is your plan of action? If we have time today, we'll discuss that because it's part of my slides that I prepared for you. Okay. So next part is Africa's progress towards AI policies. This one I'll go a little bit fast because this is just an overview for just to keep you updated. I want you to know that, okay, so we have, according to the AI Global Index, African countries fall into two categories, waking up and then the nascent. So we have a number of companies specialized in AI by country. So you can see that the highest one is South Africa with 726, and then it goes to Nigeria. Ghana is about 115 companies which are specialized in AI, according to the report that we have here. I don't know how many, I don't know the company, all the companies and their names, but the data says this. I think the companies who are now waking up are those who are at Congo and Botswana. Okay, so we have AI industry in Africa is experiencing a steady growth with over 2,400 companies specialized in AI, and an impressive 41% being startups. Okay, that's good. And the projections suggest that AI technology could contribute substantial 1.5 billion to the continent GDP by 2030. That means that there's a lot of value to be gained. Now, one of the companies that has one of the countries that has an AI policy that is quite well established and is being implemented is Mauritius. Is one of the first African countries to adopt an AI strategy, a national AI strategy, whilst there are 6 other countries which are also in having such things in development. So in Mauritius stands as one of the first African country to adopt a national AI strategy. And other countries that are taking that such similar strides are Egypt, Kenya, South Africa, Tunisia, and Uganda. That's as of 2001. Okay. Oh, I redacted something here. Sorry. Okay, I don't know why this is redacted. Hold on. Let me just check why this is redacted. Thank you. Okay. No worry. I think I should. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, Africa's progress, we might talking about this already. So, in South Africa, we have also seen such developments taking place. South African Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution has published a comprehensive report highlighting the importance of human-centric approach to digital transformation AI. Ghana has partnered with the UN Global Pulse, which is one of the UN agencies, to map out its AI ecosystem and develop a blueprint for the national AI strategy. And then Rwanda is also doing some multi-stakeholder engagement towards that. African Union too has got a unified continental strategy and vision for AI. So that I think there's all over from West Africa to East Africa to part of North Africa, we see development towards AI policies. Now, in that of Mauritius, one of the things that they tend to focus more on was the number of priority areas. How can we use AI to support manufacturing, healthcare, fintech, agriculture, and then also highlighting the integration of AI in the ocean economy for small ports and traffic management. That's at their harbors, and as well as AI in energy management to reduce CO2 emissions. So which is towards issues concerning climate change. So the report concludes with recommendation for skills development and research funding and governance mechanisms, which are three key parts. We need skills in AI, we need research funding in AI, and we need governance mechanism in AI. And then including the establishment of a national AI ethics committee, which is okay. And then an implementation of data protection measures for an open data platforms. So Mauritius has done quite some good work in this area. But when it comes to the European and American policies, which I've been trying to talk about for some time now, we have UNESCO, which has been advocating for a human resource approach to AI. And they have 10 principles, which kind of cover some of the things we have been talking about. Proportionality and do no harm. So AI should not do any harm. It should aim at using AI for anything that could actually threaten the safety and security of others. Fairness and non-discrimination, sustainability, right to privacy and data protection, human oversight and determination, responsibility and accountability. We talked about the awareness and literacy, multi-stakeholder and adaptive governance and collaboration. One person cannot govern it all. Because sometimes you have a country in which another country, a company who is operating in another country. The mother country is the US, the country that is operating is in Ghana. Which of the policies is going to govern that company? What we have seen in my little consultancies is that the company adheres to what is in Ghana and also adheres to what is coming from the US. Because any extension of it that can affect it can actually also lead to certain breaches in the US, and they don't want that. Okay. And then transparency and then explainability. Now, this was established by UNESCO in 2021. If you go to the website link that I put there, you can actually read the details of these principles. Now, we also have the General Data Protection Regulation that is coming from the European Union, and then the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act that comes from the US. Now, all of these things are aiming at protecting personal data, not just because of AI. It goes beyond that, but because of the fact that there are policies that protect data protection policy, they tend to cover the new technologies that are coming up, or they tend to view it to cover it, if I should say that. And the focus, the GDPR is a regulation, the EU law, that sentence of protection of personal data of EU citizens, irrespective of where the data processing may take place. You see what is here, irrespective of where. So even if the data processing is taking place in Ghana and it's an EU company and it's processing the data here, but it's about people living in the EU, citizens of EU, it will apply. It covers all types of personal data, not just health information. The aspects are some of the key highlights of it are right to be forgotten. Data subjects can ask organizations to erase their personal data. That's good. I wonder how many of us would like it in Ghana. You tell Facebook, erase everything about me. Data portability. Individuals can request copies of their personal data in a standard format. Actually, this has been applied by some of the companies like Facebook and other platforms. I don't know, there was a time that Facebook will allow you to download your whole profile as a file. All the data that's related to your whole profile as a file, and then download it, and But the format of the file is only them that I think you need some application to be able to read it. I've used it before, so I don't know whether anybody has come across. Has anybody come across this before? You can download everything about yourself that you have put on Facebook, especially on your personal page, and store it as a file. Who has experienced that before? Yeah, I don't know whether anybody has experienced it. Okay. Today Godfrey is not here. I can see that. I can't see him, so there's no more collaborations.
I'm here. I'm here.
Do you allow people to download their data? Data portability.
No. Currently, we don't have that feature yet.
You are saying you don't have that feature yet because in future you think of bringing it up.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Okay.
Because they're now trying to take the data protection thing and then the data thing very seriously now. So, but currently we don't have it.
Okay. So requires consent, requires clear and affirmative consent for data processing. Okay. Now in the GDPR, so there's also an location for creating data protection officers. Certain organizations need to appoint a DPO to oversee the GDPR compliance. So let me ask, Haptel, do you have a data protection officer? Or it's a combined role with something?
It's a combined role. We have the statistician doing that as well.
Okay. Wow, you have a statistician. That's interesting. Breach notifications.
Yes.
Notify relevant authorities when there's a breach within 72 hours of a known breach. Okay. Okay. GDPR applies to all organizations processing the personal data of EU citizens, regardless of the organization's location. I mentioned that earlier. Okay. Okay, so look at the HIPAA Act. The HIPAA Act is focused on privacy standards to protect patients' medical records and other information maintained by healthcare providers, health insurance, and their business associates. Key aspects are protected health information, refers to any information that can identify me as a patient and relate to my healthcare status and care or payment. That's good. Business associate agreement. Contract between HIPAA and covered entity and the business associate to ensure the latter remains a HIPAA compliant practice. Okay. Maintains HIPAA compliant practices. Okay. So the contract is between a HIPAA entity, covered entity, and a business associate. Okay. So that means that if you are you are in a HIPAA compliant institution, some of the people working there may be asked to sign on this particular agreement. Minimum necessary rule. Disclosures of or requests of PHI, that's personal health information, must be limited to the minimum necessary to achieve the purpose. So you can't just arbitrarily ask for any type of information about somebody, but they put the restriction that you can only ask for some minimal information so that we can preserve and protect the identifying information of the person. So some information you will not get access to it. Establish standards for protecting electronic PHI, including encryption and physical safety. We talked about encryption before. It's up, but the scope, it applies to all healthcare providers, health insurers, health care clearinghouses, and business associates in the US, but also applies to their business activities outside the US. Rights of the individuals. GDPR grants several rights, including data portability, right to access, right to be forgotten. HIPAA gives patients rights to access their medical records and ensures that they are kept confidential. It doesn't have provisions like right to be forgotten in the GDPR context. Okay. I remember in the US, when I finished a medical session, I asked them for copies of my medical reports, and they did every single thing copy for me. That's a big folder. And they even told me that there's an online website which belongs to them that I can also, with a secure password, download the information from there. And the name of the doctor who looked after you is there. But they also redact some of the information too. So maybe it's the one that identifies individuals in the hospital, and just leave the one that's about me for them to be able to, for me to be able to use wherever I go to. Okay. Penalties. GDPR has strict penalties which are going up to $20 million. Wow. or 4% of your global annual revenue. Now, let me ask a question. Why are they using the word global, not annual revenue? Can anybody answer? Why are they using the word global here?
So I'm thinking that primarily maybe the companies are multinational. So once, like let's say they are targeting the global space that is multinational, it's going to serve as a deterrent for you not to do similar things elsewhere.
Thank you. And it's also because you are a US company and some of the data that you are using to work on and to be able to generate algorithms are US-based data. So if you go and use it to run, you generated the algorithm, you're now using the algorithm to provide services in Ghana. You should also know that the algorithm's nature and knowledge came from the US. So if there's something that happens in a breach here, it could actually also be they reliable to a suit in the US too. So you have to, that's why to be able to comply, to ensure your compliance, we are even coming after your revenue outside the US, which ties into what you are saying. HIPAA penalties range from $100 to 50,000 per violation. Hey, per violation. So if they give you 6 counts of 6 counts, they can multiply with a maximum annual penalty of 1.5 million per violation category. Wow. Breach notification. GDPR requires. Hello, am I back? My internet went off. Am I back?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
My internet went off. So sorry about that. I just saw that it went off. Okay. GDPR requires breaches to be reported within 72 hours, whilst HIPAA requires breaches affecting 500 or more individuals to be reported no later than 60 days from the discovery of the breach. So that gives us some different types of what you are accountable to in terms of a situation where you have a breach. Okay. Yes, Elizabeth.
Please, why 60 days? Isn't it too long a time?
I think so, but this one I don't know why, but I think that's the only. And even said affecting 500 or more individuals. So I think because it has to do with healthcare, there could be other policies that at the facility level, it kind of protects patient data. But this one is when you have a breakout, that the thing is maybe a mass, a nationwide or community-wide or statewide breach, which may have some much more a higher level of consequences that could actually occur. Hence, that's why they are giving you this opportunity. Maybe when you discover it and it's less than 500, you could actually deal with it as soon as possible. But if they come out, and it means that if they come after you, they may end up also punishing you very severely. And it also could be that it has to do with the different level of professionals inside. Because in HIPAA, you have got the doctor, you have got the facility, you have got the nurses and so if there's a breach, you need to do a very good investigation. Otherwise, you end up realizing that you let a lot of people lose their licenses just because there was a breach. So the investigation has to be quite thorough. Hence, it could be that they want you to do those things at your end before you come and report it. But that's I've not actually investigated. I'm just saying it from what I hypothetically. But we could check that one for data protection Ghana and then see and compare with that. I'll check with the document later and then maybe next time we'll meet when we're learning how to develop policies. We could see what we could add to it. Or how comparable that this will be with that of Ghana. Consent and opt-in. GDPR emphasizes explicit informed consent requiring an opt-in. But we should also understand that Europe is quite stricter in managing data and going after companies more than the US. And Europe is a whole region which is bigger than the US. US is just one country. US is a number of different countries. The GDPR applies to a number of different countries. So if you realize a number of the American companies, when they're operating in Europe, they end up getting sued a lot. Those of you who have been following the tech news, you realize that even Apple doesn't have it easy in Europe, and even Samsung too, and even Microsoft. Those of you who have actually followed this, I hope you can attest to it. Has anybody seen an example of what I'm talking about? Number of suits that US and non-European firms actually face in the US, in the UK. In the past, let me give you an example. In the past, Windows had to be created another one called Windows N. That's Windows that has been stripped down because Windows used to partner with Microsoft used to partner with the technology company, so that when you buy a Toshiba, by the time you finish buying the Toshiba, they have installed Windows on it. Apart from the Windows that have installed on it, you have got Internet Explorer on it, you have got Word on it, you have got all those ones on that. Now the European companies got angry that it's unfair competition, because it means that from day one, the student or whoever has bought a laptop is going to use Internet Explorer, even to be able to sign in and to be able to go to the internet and do his first email account or something like that. So when you have a company like Opera and other companies working from the Europe, they don't have a fair advantage on the same computer that is being created for their market. So the European Union ruled that Windows N was supposed to be a stripped down version of the Windows platform. That you just get a shell, you get up and there's just Windows, bam. You can't actually do anything. There's no Internet Explorer, there's no Word, there's nothing like that. So when you get it, then you have to then choose what you want to use. So all of us have got equal advantage of being selected. Even if you want to put applications on the computer, you should have Internet Explorer, you should have Opera too, so that the other European versions are there. So if those of you who bought UK-based or Europe-based machines, either you came across one which was stripped down, or you came across one that you see Windows being installed, you see Word there, but you see Internet Explorer, but you see Opera too, and other, if you start an Netscape, other different browsers also there, so that you choose which of them you want to use. I don't know whether anybody experienced this before. I experienced it myself quite a number of times, because I was doing my PhD and my master's there. So when you buy a computer, you see what I'm talking about. So Windows N became a stripped down version that had to be, I think Windows N, if I'm right about the name, that had to be used in Europe. So European Union is quite strict about how they follow up on these kind of things. HIPAA does not require patient consent for the use of the personal health information, but it requires its guidelines on consent differ from GDPR's broader and more stringent requirements. As I said, it's more stringent. Okay, in summary, how about GDPR and HIPAA prioritize data protection? Their focus differ. GDPR is broader, encompassing personal data of EU citizens, whilst HIPAA zeroes in on just health-related information in US. Understanding both is crucial for organizations that handles both types of data. Okay. Oh, okay. I had something about the law here. Lawful basis and data minimization. Under GDPR, businesses must have lawful basis. Okay, this was about how we process the data. How we process personal data. This requires AI systems that process personal. This requirement extends to AI systems that process personal data. Then under GDPR promotes the principle of data minimization, requiring business to limit the collection and processing of personal data to what is necessary for a specific purpose. So you can't just get up and just collect data. You have to make sure that what you're collecting is for those specific purposes. I remember there was an application form that I was using in the US, and the paper-based application form in the underneath. Underneath, sorry about that. And we have taken notice of Philip. Maybe he's not ready for the class. Okay. So underneath the document, I realized that they wrote that if this document takes more than 5 minutes for you to fill it, call this number. So it was a number that was a data protection commission in the state I was in. That the state document that you are filling, if it causes you to spend more than this number of minutes, the document has to be pulled back, because you're not supposed to spend that number of minutes in filling that particular data that you that worksheet or data sheet I was using, which I found to be very, very interesting. And some of them too, they don't ask everything. For example, and I think you hear with the cards that you have, your bank cards, you realize that when you call, like, you are doing a follow-up on maybe StanChat and you call the call center, which is somewhere in India, they will ask you the last 4 digits of your card. They don't ask you for the full number of your card. They tell you that you are not supposed to give the full number of your card to somebody. The last 4 digits is what they ask for. Good. So some of these things is to protect the information so that we cannot uniquely, one person cannot identify or unnecessary information that's identifiable about you is not made available to others. So in the US, for example, when you are giving your social security number, you only trade with or interact with other systems with the last 4 digits. The other numbers that come before the last 4 digits, you don't mention it anywhere. So you go to what's your social, they ask you what's your number, then you give them the last 4 digits, and when you put it in the system, it will still identify you. You don't need to give everything. I don't know anybody who has gone to do some galamsey in the UK, US and has had that number and knows all about what I'm talking about. Anybody here? Or you won't tell us. Okay. Businesses using AI systems for automated decision making must ensure that they have mechanisms in place to provide individuals with information about the logic involved. And for that's what GDPR in automated decision making processes. Number 2, they offer rights for the individual to obtain human intervention in the decision-making process, express their point of view and challenge the decision. That's good. Number 2, implement measures to safeguard individuals' rights and freedoms and legitimate interests, including right to obtain human review and express objections and consent to a decision. That's good. Okay. Now, international data transfer. If businesses transfer personal data across international borders, they must comply with laws and regulations governing the international data transfers. Okay, this is what I was telling you earlier. GDPR imposes restrictions on transfer of personal data to countries outside the European Union area, the European Economic Area, that do not provide a level of adequate protection. Adequate safeguards such as standard contractual clauses or binding corporate rules may be required to facilitate international data requirement and data transfer. So you can't just pick information and just transfer it across. You have to understand the policies that govern you, your family organization in the country that you are in, and then the receiving country, the country that you are sending the information to. What kind of data protection laws or structures exist in that country in order to protect the organization and then the data that you are transferring in between the two countries. Okay. So that's about that for the international policies, and then what's quite interesting in trying to use appreciate how AI influences our data privacy and data security measures. Okay, so the next thing that I want to look into, it will be web security and key considerations for data security and privacy. Okay. Any questions so far on the other one? This one is quite brief, so I will finish it soon. Okay. So what is web security? And then what are web security strategies and incident response plan? These are the 3 things that I will look into. Okay. So web security, what is it? Now, we are in an age in which we spend more time online, and we tend to use different applications to engage ourselves with the internet. One application that we use on many desktops is what we call the browser. That helps us connect to the internet and then or the web. Another one that we also use browsers on phones to be able to engage with information on the internet. Others also use apps, and that may be mobile apps. Sometimes there are apps that work on tablets that helps us to also browse the web and also get some information. Now, when we talk about web security, we are referring to safeguarding those websites and online services so that the apps will come inside. Again, different security threats that exploit vulnerabilities in the application code. So web security is more concerned about what code exists in the website, what code exists in that online service. How do you protect it that people don't exploit some vulnerabilities or create new opportunities of exploiting vulnerabilities either in the code or get an external a foreign code into the data, the existing application code and mess it up. There are many different ways that people do that. Now, the common threats that happen on the web, we talked about data security some time ago, but then I'm narrowing down the web security. It's cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and cross-site request forgery. These are the three ones that I want to focus on so that we don't go too technical. I'll try my best to be less technical because of the diversity in the class. What is cross-site scripting? Cross-site scripting occurs when you have an attacker who maliciously injects malicious scripts into the web pages that you are watching or you are using. These scripts can then become embedded in the web page and they sit on the computer, gradually pulling sensitive data through the session cookies that you have. So when you open a page, all this information that you see, they say allow cookies, and you say yes. Now the cookies then store what you are doing in that session there, so that whenever you kind of resume, you can continue where you were here. Let's continue. Then you previously view these items. Now it picks those the information, the sensitive data of that particular cookie, and then performs actions on behalf of the user without your knowledge, appearing as you on the system. Okay. Example. Now, most of you go to, I'm just using that example, please, nobody should sue me, I beg you. So most of you go to the Ghana Web, My Joy Online, and City FM websites. And sometimes there is a comment section that you see there. That comment section, if it's not properly secured, now what can happen is that an attacker or a user can put, you see, the comment section tells you can put anything there. He can put a script. And some of the scripts, most of the websites, they have Java engines in it. Java is one of the languages that the web understands. So you write a script and put it inside the browser so that when you post it and you come to the page and you are also reading, you see some of you spend your time, let me read comments. You click on comment one, hey, if you something another, then you click on comment two. Now, as you are clicking on the comments and opening, it's actually running what, you know, it has to, sometimes you see your mouse, your clicker just spinning around. So it's processing the page so that that particular small comment will open. I think, let me finish this and then we'll go there. So what happens if the person has put a malicious code inside, it will run. And if it runs, it will actually start picking information from your browser and all the open pages that you have opened. Okay, let me just jump into that. I'm using cross-site scripts. So let me just so to run in the browser, and if there are sessions that you have embedded in the browser, some cookie session, it can read that information because it's on that page and start to send it to the person who put that particular code there. I'm not trying to make the internet very scary for you, but it happens a lot. Those of you like going to an underground website to download movies. And they say that comment before you can see the code. In case they have put the movie in, you want the movie is in Chinese, so you want the subtitles. And they say that click on it and comment before you can download. Sometimes what they are doing is that they are also looking for information from you. So you may just comment anything. Sometimes they don't even read the information. The thing doesn't need anything. Or click on this. It needs an input from you to be able to get permission to do that on your machine. That's all. So you have to be careful on the pages you go to. So let's look at a scenario. Alice visits her favorite online forum. It's a forum, the forum that you also visit is also part of it. Bob, an attacker, has posted a comment that contains an embedded malicious script. Without realizing it, Alice's browser executes the script, sending her session information, her login information to that page and everything that she's doing on that page and stuff. But he's getting other details about your computer, where it's located, and all kinds of stuff about your computer. So, and sends it to Bob. Now, Bob now has Alice's username. He has some portions of maybe, depending on how the script is, or the person's password. And then she knows your post and the things you have used. So now he can impersonate you that Bob now, whilst Alice goes to sleep, Bob can come and be posting things on the internet as Alice. Please, are you here with me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are here with you.
Are you scared or what? I'm afraid to even continue because everybody's so quiet. Or it's interesting.
Yes, sir, it's interesting.
We are tired. Very interesting.
Okay, I'm sorry. But is it, should I continue?
Oh, yes, sir, please.
So now Bob can start impersonating you. So you have to be very careful the pages you go to. You have to be very, very careful the pages you go to and what people can do on the page. So let me just try and let's use, please, I'm not, nobody should go and tell Ghana Web that I said they have the one. They are not done anything wrong. I'm just using a post. I'm just going to use a website as an example. So don't bear with me. So let's say, this is now the most interesting story that Buguri and Nabu. So everybody's talking about that. So you see a lot of people, and the people they target the one that people will frequent more. So let's go there. I don't think I can identify anything like that. Okay. So I want the story itself. Okay, so now you see how many comments? 9. So I'm clicking on now. If somebody has posted a malicious code right now, what I'm doing, I'm on the page, so I'm running the thing. I'm running the person's code. Now you see what is going to happen. I put my user. So yeah, even this one is not telling me to log in. So it's different. But just in case it tells you to log in and log in with your social media account, then that's even worse. Because what you are doing is that you're actually giving your social media account and link is linked to your social, that when you post here, it's also show on your page. That's what. So what happens here is that I will put in my username, my password, and things like that. So it is at this place, these two places, that the person can put a code. So I can write like this as script. So it's telling you it's a script and open it like that, and then start writing something that you should do. So maybe I don't know if I don't want to give anything out, but you can type something there to do a malicious script. So let's say I put something like this and I close the script. Now, depending on how the platform is, depending on how the platform is developed, it can actually run this thing as a command. If this data is picked as not data, it's picked as it treats it as an input. Yeah, that's trouble. If it picks as data, it will not run it. But if it picks it as an input, it will start running it. But some people study pages and see the weakness of pages and start putting things there. So, for example, somebody has written sexy girls, and he has already told you that click on comment to get to the best dating website. And you know, these are things that will attract some people to go and read about it. This one too has a long list of people commenting. So as soon as I click on it, it will tell me what the first person said, and I can go to what the second person said. And stuff. Now, every time I click it, it has to run and open the person's page. That running is what, if the person has put a code in it, it will also run that code. That's what they're trying to tell you. Okay. Let me go back to my slide. Any question? If not, I'm going back to my slide. So that's cross-site scripting. Now let's go to another one. Okay, so the next one is SQL injection, which will also come back to online, and I'll show you something. Okay, that one, this one I have how to address it. So I think that my illustration comes to how to address it. SQL injection happens when an attacker is able to inject or insert malicious code into a query. Then what if give them unauthorized access to the data, allowing them to view or modify and delete the data. So, example, on a login page, instead of the genuine username and password, an attacker can put a special string of SQL code. If the website is not securely coded, the input can trick the system into granting the attacker access. That's all. That's all. For example, let's give an example being that a person has changed the password of the master account, but he has not changed the username, and the username can still be admin. A person can use the admin, then start using other forms of password generators to be able to even log in and then hack into your system. Now, on an online bookstore, Charlie wants to check her past orders. However, instead of entering a genuine order number, he enters a malicious SQL code script snippet. The website is not properly secured. It executes Charlie's input as part of the database query. This allows Charlie to view all the orders from other users, including their personal information and payment information. So that happens. Okay. Cross-site request. I will demonstrate. I don't want to jump. I will demonstrate something like that later. Cross-site request forgery. Now, this one tricks the victim into executing unwanted actions on the web applications where they are currently authenticated without their knowledge or consent. So you have logged on already. It has known that it's you that has logged on, but somebody has been able to get the information using it to impersonate you. Imagine you are logged into your online bank account without logging out. So you see what you will do, you open your online bank account, you are transferring money. Then somebody has sent you a video, then you open another tab. And then you say that you are watching the video there. Then you open another page, then you are going to social media. Now, what is happening is that everybody who knows how to write, who has written a good script, can be able to know all the sessions that are live currently in the browser. So without logging out, you navigate to another site which tricks your browser into making a request to your bank to transfer money. If the bank doesn't have protection against CSRF, the transaction might proceed without your explicit permission. Because the person is listening in and he realizes that there are other pages that are open. And maybe I've opened your whichever bank, Rural Bank page. On the side of the other pages that you are chatting, and the side of the other page you are watching videos and stuff. So one of the pages, the person is sitting there waiting for you. As you open the thing, it says information that this person has visited a site, other sessions are open. We can read the information. Let me see an example. Diane is logged onto a social media account. I even mentioned it. She receives email with a link to a funny video and clicks it. Most of you do that. The link leads to a malicious website set up by Ivan, the attacker. Behind the scene, the website makes a request to Diane's social media profile to change her email address controlled by Ivan. So the time that Diane has opened the page, Diane's boyfriend calls. So I'm going to get to opening. Ivan is on the web page. Ivan is on the malicious page where she's watching the video. Her social media account has been opened. The lady has left and gone to sit somewhere and is chatting with the boyfriend. At that time, everything is live for Ivan. Ivan has enough time to be able to pull information from a social media account, cross-site request forgery. And then if her social media account isn't protected by CSRF, the immediate change you go through. Now, Ivan can take over Diane's account by resetting password. Some of you have been saying that they said your password was your account was compromised when you visited some site, but you don't even remember which site you visited. And when you visited the site, you didn't even think you did anything. You didn't give your account details to them. The website, your email, social media account was opened, or your email account was opened whilst you were browsing or watching this video of Bugri Nabu or something like this. That somebody has put on some funny page, and you are watching these snippets. Some of you can consume these snippets for 2 days. You're watching, hey, you're happy. Cat has fallen down and turn around. You watch and all those kind of stuff. That page has consumed your attention that you're watching that thing. It has sometimes got other scripts working behind the page in your browser. It can even happen on the phone too. And some of them are even easier crap on the phone. So whilst you are waiting for the guy is pulling information, and Ivan has time, because as soon as Ivan has set a kind of a notifier. So as soon as he gets somebody to notify Ivan, then Ivan will come, okay, we got one person, he's online, okay, what can we get? Okay, this bank, okay, Chase Bank, okay. Then they start working on it. So don't open your sensitive pages websites whilst you are also doing other things that are underground stuff, or certain pages that somebody has some link. And you see, the interesting thing is that even on WhatsApp, people keep on forwarding. It's latest news. 2,000 people are forwarded. They forward it to you. You also go and watch. Sometimes the person who watch it on the 200th time says, okay, these people will be coming here often. Let me find a way of mirroring the thing so that I can also have the same video on my page, but I'm going to be pulling information. So that same video, have you seen the guys, the link video? The link video has come out. You all go to the link website to watch the video. By the time you leave there, you are carrying things onto your own computer. So how can we address some of these web securities? Okay, so I'll look at that after that. I'm talking about the techniques that we use. Then after that, I'll talk about it in general, how we can deploy them in organizations. So in the techniques that we use, the first one, input validation. Okay, input validation involves checking and sanitizing the user input to ensure that they're correct and appropriate and they are correct and appropriate and secure before you process it as a programmer when you're developing a page. By validating the input, you can prevent potentially harmful information can come into you. So I'm taking as if that you are the IT manager or you are the head of analytics in the organization. You are watching for these things. So I'm talking as you being the head in the organization. So let's say there's an example of a website form asking for a user's age. The field should only accept numbers. You don't allow the user age, the age pages to let somebody type either 20 or a script. Like this, you see, this is the script command, like you are seeing here. When the system sees these things, which is not anything that's not number, you should reject it. But if you allow the person to be typing words for a place that's supposed to be numbers, you can actually then use it to be able to end up, because sometimes the number is picked and put into another as a variable, put it into another command, and that it will run that command. So you want to avoid the thing from picking something which is not a number and going to put it in the database and run. The system should reject it. How do you say? For Fiona scenario, Fiona wants to sign up for an online game. The sign up form asks for her username. Instead of a typical name, she's tried inserting a script, hoping to execute some malicious action. The game server, however, checked all the inputs, seeing that Fiona's username contains non-alphanumeric characters. The server rejects the entry and protecting the game and its user. You see, when we say non-alphanumeric characters, it means that it's characters that has no number, it's not numbers and it's not alphabets. So it's those ones that have things like the ampersand sign, the greater than or less than. All those are non-alphanumeric characters. But those are some of the things that people use to write code. So as soon as the thing sees that these things are coming in for a username page, reject it. That's why some of the websites are now very strict on what type of username you can even use and what type of password you can even use. The reason is because they want you to avoid all these scripts that people have been putting into. And sometimes you are not the person you're targeting. You are not the person who even do it. Somebody sitting in Russia has made up his mind that you just recently did an advert, launch of our new phone, and he said, and register here. Somebody has said, okay, register here. Okay, let's see if it will happen. You spend 6 days sitting on your website just to hack it, and after that, take a ransom and ask you for money. Okay. The next one is parameterize queries. So parameterized queries, often known as prepared statements, ensure that input is always treated as data, not executable code. This is essential, especially vital in database queries to prevent SQL injection. So how do we do that? So for example, this is an SQL query. Select from the table called users where the username is. Then you are asking that the person should, why? When you are, let me explain something. Whenever you are logging to a website, whenever you are logging to a website, the data that the website will pick your username and go and check the database and look for your password to match whether it's the same password that's supposed to be there. Then it can give you access. So it's going to do that. Select from the user table where the username is equal to the user input. This is the equation that in the past many people used to write. But that you have put there, you see that you have non-alphanumeric characters there. Now, when you do that, that means that it can take anything. When you allow this to happen, the person can put a script there, and the script can rather lead to, say, either exposing all it will write another SQL command for you. So when you go into the database to run something else. So we, after some time, people started realizing that this is how the hackers are getting into our system. So they started advising that don't use this type of SQL query for a database. If you want to do that, search for the database, use something like this. Now, when you use the question mark sign, it is still representing that wait for input from the user. But this input is going to be taken as data, not as a potential code that you should run. So the question mark was introduced as a placeholder for user input. The database understands it as a placeholder, as data, not code. If it understands a code, it will run it as code. If it understands as data, it runs as data. This is the only way that we are able to try to use this parameterized queries to be able to prevent this thing from happening. So that instead of us taking direct input that may be code, we try to put in certain things that is not executable. We want only data, not any executable string that will come into our system. Okay. Okay. Now, sorry. So scenario, Greg runs an online shop. The customer searches for a product. Their search item is inserted into the database query to find matching items. Helen and the hacker tries to search for, instead of searching for the name of the product, you put now this is a code. Now in SQL, when you say drop table products, that means that it will delete the whole thing. It will just destroy that table. Drop table products. That's what he has put in. Instead of breaking the system, the parameters query treats Helen's input as a harmless search term and gives that there's no product called drop table products. If it didn't take it as a parameterized query and you're using the normal old one, this one could have run. So the shop database remains untouched. That's how hackers are able to go into some people's system, and the next morning you see that all your data has been taken away or it's lost. The guy has stolen your data and after that deleted your table, so you can't even find it. Now let's take a look at this example I put here. I just want to go to this. Please, if there are questions, people can ask. Hey, now today I'm not talking to. Or are you following? Are you following with us?
Yes, sir, please, I'm following. But my son is not well from in the hospital.
Oh, sorry. We pray that you get a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Oh. Okay, so gentlemen, so this is W3 schools that helps you to learn how to code, and there are different coding languages here, Python, Java. So any of you want to learn how to code, you can use these pages. It teaches you. Now we are going to look at a table. This is a demo table, database table. Okay, can you see it? Maybe let me zoom in a little bit. So below is a selection from a customer table used in the examples. So these are the customer table. Now this is an SQL command. Select from the where clause. Select from the customers where the country is Mexico. So if you run that one, it will pull only the Mexico. So we expect only these two people to show. So let's try it and see. Oh, please hurry up. Fatigue. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's taking a lot of time. So what they select, maybe it's taking time to run it. So let me show you. What you are trying to say is that the table is called customer. So select from the customer table from a field called country, where the country name is Mexico. So what the person was trying to do is that you rather put here that put a command here, drop the Mexico. You say drop table something, drop table customer, or drop the column called city. So by the time you realize, it will end up running that code if your if you have not put in the parameterized version, what will end up is to run that code and then delete that thing from there. That's what it's trying to just tell you. That's all. The page is taking time for it to run. Okay. So SQL statement. Okay, run. Edit the statement. Edit the statement and click run. Okay, let's run it without editing. Let's see what we get. So you see, all the Mexico ones have come. You see it here. Good. Now let's edit the Mexico one and then type in. Oh, what is this thing? So let me just say drop table customers. Now you see what you have run? You have made changes to the database. It means that I've dropped the thing. Do you see what's happening?
Yes, sir.
If you
Sir,
have
so
put,
can you reverse this?
oh yeah, you can reverse it, but it's a session it's giving me. Now, do you realize what has happened? If you have told me that there's no column called, there's nothing called country, there's no country called drop data, that country doesn't exist or something like that. But it's telling me that I think the result you have made changes to the database. So I wonder what changes. So let me see if I can. Let me see whether it exists. Let's go again. If it then okay, this part is there, but when I type that one, or it doesn't understand it. Okay, let me see. No result. Oh, okay. Then when I dropped the thing, it dropped it actually. But I see that when you run it, it puts a new session there. Because it says drop. I don't know. I'm just trying another command. Column country. No result. Okay. It's no result. Anyway, so what it's trying to say is that the input itself, if you're not very careful, the input can be a command that will end up being run and then put your database at risk. So whatever system you are developing, please be very careful. Be very, very careful and think about using the parameterized versions. Okay. So let's look at anti-CRF tokens. Let's look at that one quickly and then we can round up. Where is my PowerPoint and where's my share screen? Share. Okay, so anti-CRF tokens refers to the fact that we can then put in a token in the website so that when somebody wants to do anything to the website, it will request that token. If you cannot give that token, then the request is rejected. And I think some of you have seen that happening with your bank details a lot, like Visa. If you use Visa that you are buying something on the website that is not known by your bank, it can send it to that, send you a one-time password to your phone. And into the processing will go through them, but to bring a unique page said opened by Visa, and the Visa will ask you that they are sending a one-time password to your phone, then you should actually put in the rest of the password, then you can let the processing take through. If it doesn't go through, that money will not be released to the person who you are buying from, or the person who is trying to steal from your system or from your account. Think of anti-CRF tokens as a consent wristband. If you have the right wristband, you're allowed to enter allowed access to the event. If not, security will not allow you in. Similarly, when you try to perform actions on a website, your request needs a correct wristband or token. So Ian is logged into his online account. Jack, an attacker, tries to trick Ian clicking a disguised link that will transfer money to Jack's account. Unbeknownst to Jack, every genuine request on the bank website requires an anti-CRF token. Since Jack's malicious link does not have the correct token, which may be attached to the link, the bank server rejects the transfer request and keeps Ian's money safe. So these are some of the ways the banks are also doing to protect us. Okay. So web securities and strategies and measures. Okay. So the technical strategies is what we talk. Some of them is what we talked about right now. We have got technical, administrative, physical, and then personal. So in the technical ones, sometimes you advise that try to use websites that have got a secure socket layer. Those padlock that you see on the side, like the one I was just browsing right now. You saw. Those of you may not know this one. So you are using 8 Tbps. Can you see this one here? Okay, so it assures your security and can tell you the certificate of the security. Let me see. Add privacy and cookies and data connection secure. Good. The certificate is valid. So the certificate has expired to tell you. And who has issued the certificate? Show certificate. Okay. The certificate was issued on March 5th, 2023, 12 a.m. and it expires on April 2024. There's a the signature that's to do with something which is encrypted here. And then the common name, it was issued to W3 schools. The organization is HCAST. Okay. And who issued it? The common issued by DigiSet Incorporated. So that it's certified that the information here is secure. So if you go to pages that are asking you about things to do with money, finance, and you don't see some of these padlocks, beware and be careful. Beware and be careful. Your bank websites that don't have those padlocks, beware of the danger you are falling into. Okay. We also, another thing that the certificates also allows the information on the website to be encrypted, the one that has been transferred between the website and any other platform. Regular updates are also important. You should update your OS to avoid the vulnerabilities. Some of you, the Windows you are using is the pirated one. So if you update, it will start showing that you cannot browse anymore after some time. So you don't want to update. If you don't want to update, then don't go online. So that you can protect your computer. Organizations that hadn't updated their system were affected. So scheduling your updates is very, very important. Just that sometimes when Windows, the updates are so much frequent as compared to that of Apple. Web application firewall. So you can also establish put a firewall. And those of you who have been using internet security software like Norton Internet Security, McAfee Internet Security, those ones come with some web application firewall, so that it can even tell you if you are going to a website that is not protected. Those of you have installed it on your machine, you see that sometimes you are opening a page, it will tell you that this page is not secure for you to go there. Now, what is it? It's monitoring and filtering and blocking all traffic that are from pages that are suspicious, so that you don't end up falling into a trap. Your company blog gets massive traffic spikes overnight. Upon investigation, discover it's a DOS attack. A WAF can identify and filter out the malicious traffic safeguarding your site. Now, a DDoS attack is when it's called denial of service attack, when a number of computers are trying to connect to the same website, so that at the end nobody is able to open. So there's too much than what the server can take, and then the user want to end up crashing your website. Secure coding practices. Develop software using secure coding techniques, which can help prevent vulnerabilities. Like we talked about parameterized queries. We talked about that today. Then multi-factor authentication. I think now you realize that's being done. So you don't use only one way of authenticating somebody when the person is logging into a platform. So sometimes they may tell you to answer a question. They may even ask you for a secret word. They may send something to your computer, to your email, or to your phone, and you input it before you can progress. All these things are what we call multi-factor authentication. In the past, we had only a single factor or a uni authentication method, where you go, you just put your username and password, and you just click on and go on. But now we are trying to add other layers, so that it's more difficult for somebody to have all that information about you, so they can hang on. For the person to have all the information about them, the person has to have time to either hold you ransom or go into your computer to pick all the information. But in setting up a multi-factor authentication, we are trying to make sure that at the end of the day, not one verification method is used to establish your identity. Multiple ones are being used. SMS code or authenticator are part of what happens. Then you have regular backups. That one, whether your machine is secure or not, regular backups are important. And when you backup appropriately with the right wording. So you back up into a folder in an external machine, you put in the wording that maybe March 2022, the time. So that you can remember these backups. Otherwise, you have a lot of backups, backup 1, backup 2, backup 3. And you don't even know which of them that you did first or you did second, and where you can find your material. So some organizations, when they even do backup, they even write what has been backup, a report on it, so that they know if you're looking for some information, they can easily find it. Another way that some computers and some organizations or some systems are doing that is like Apple and other platforms are doing that. They allow you to upload your content into a cloud. So iCloud is with the Apple. I don't know what is with the Android version, but there's also Dropbox that you can do. So, but Dropbox gives a version history, so that if you are using a business version account of Dropbox or a paid account of Dropbox, it can tell you like a file that you created maybe last year. It can keep that version and keep other versions as you keep on editing the file. So just in case you override the file, you can tell you want to go to the version that was done saved in last month or last 2 months. So some of the payment category can even have version history up to 1 year. That's very, very valuable, especially in an age where sometimes when you are saving files, you may override a file or you may end up deleting a file, and you want that version out of the student data as of maybe January 2023, because you have updated it, but there's some error that you have by some error deleted a column you shouldn't have deleted. You have saved it and you don't have it. How do you can get, instead of typing it or the whole thing again, that data may exist in a previous version of the file. And if you're using Dropbox and the version history is activated or is paid for, you can have that kind of series of versions of your work and go backwards to actually restore to that one. Incident response plan. Incident response plan is the kind of a plan that we put in place whenever there's an incident, so that we can return to it. And that's something that we'll be learning, looking at the timeline now. We will learn that next week. I just want to wrap up on the strategies. Okay. The administrative one includes security awareness training. You train employees about potential threats, like I'm training you right now, or making you aware of what's happening. Regular audits, so you have independent companies come and do audits on your resources, and even internally, you can also do your own audits to identify system vulnerabilities. Some applications can even do the audits for you. They can listen on your network and tell you whether there's a vulnerability or whether there's a foreign activity or some packets of your information going elsewhere. Access control, ensure that only authorized persons have access to critical. On my back. Okay, so I got to, before I went off, regular audits, auditing your website, auditing your web resources, auditing your systems for vulnerabilities is very important. And then also doing your own scenarios in terms of penetration testing to check whether people can hack it and how long it takes people to be able to guess your password. Sometimes I can even hire companies to do those kind of checks for you. The access control, ensuring that your only authorized personnel have access to critical systems and data. And then using multi-factor authentication so that people who are not authorized do not go to certain pages or spaces on your or I have access to certain information on your platform is needed, or on your website or on your database is needed. Patch management has to do with ensuring that patches that are released by some of the companies that your vendors are securely tested and promptly deployed, so that you can avoid breakouts in vulnerability. You can close all vulnerabilities that your attackers may exploit. You see, the challenge that we have in the web right now, that somebody can come to your website and be able to tell which application you're using for your website. So in this age that people tend to use a lot of open access applications, so they open source applications, somebody can go and say, oh, you are using Drupal, you are using Joomla, you are using WordPress, and they know the inherent vulnerabilities of some of the of these platforms I've talked about. So you look at, if you have not updated your WordPress and the vulnerability of 4.3 still exists, and now they are 4.7 or 5.0, and you are still at 4.3, you use the vulnerability of 4.3 to hack into your system. So you have to be very careful that, especially when you are now exposing yourself on the internet, you have to know that some of the good hackers can be able to tell, or even people who browse websites can be able to tell which the website that you are on, which language was used to build it, which application was used to build it, and then be able to hack into the system. So let's be careful about that. Vendor management. Assess the security practices of your third-party vendors who have access to your system. That is very, very important. Vendors that are either giving you something, they are giving you internet, and because they are giving you access to your system, or you are giving you a service like maybe software as a service. They have got some maybe application for managing student records, and they are giving it to you, and you put your student data there. Sometimes the attack may not be on your internal system. It may be on your vendor system, but you may end up compromising your own data. So you have to check that all your vendors that you are working with, you have to make sure that their systems are up to date and they are in good standing with their patches, their updates, so that a vulnerability of theirs doesn't become your own trouble. Now, the physical one means that we have to do physical access security. And that one is very biometric access, CCTV is very, very important. Sometimes too, even the firewalls, they have got hardware versions. So I've seen some in some server rooms before. So you buy a device and put it on it, and it becomes a hardware device that the person has to hack. The internet passes through that one before it comes to maybe for you to use. So if you have not been able to hack that hardware and get to know all the details of that hardware, you cannot be able to hack into the person's machine. So sometimes they do things like that, where an dedicated hardware firewall is placed as a strong line of defense against attack. For example, a library provides public internet access. They use hardware firewalls to filter out traffic to malicious websites, especially if people are even requesting to go to those websites, and prevent potential attacks from your network. So even in your own home, where you have if you have your own router, you can log into the router and block certain pages on the router, so that anybody who that tries to go to Google, go to YouTube, go to some kind of funny website, that is blocked, or any website that has this type of name is blocked, or URL is blocked, that nobody can able to access it there. You can put it inside the router. Now, even some applications allow you to do it within the application, like Netflix allows you to go into the system and block certain videos and films that people are watching. You can set the user control, but you can also individually type a name of a movie and remove it, so that it will never show in any of your database, whether your child is searching for it or you yourself are searching for it, it will not show. So if you don't like maybe The Boy is Laughing, which is a movie by Nigerians or something, you don't like it, you go there and type The Boy is Laughing. If it comes and you block it, so that it will not show in any of the profiles that you have created in the house. Wherever you use the machine, to not show. Okay. Disaster recovery plan is something that we put in place in case there is a disaster and a natural disaster happens. So offsite data backups are important, and a recovery plan is in place. And most of the banks have this like that, where the data recovery center and business continuity center, maybe it's an underground that has their servers that have been mirrored all their information, that as soon as this is their machines are hacked, they can work there for about 2 or 3 days and still have almost all the information that they had before the thing was hacked. But the companies don't let people know, because they let them know, somebody may physically even attack the place. Okay. Personal web securities. One, password managers. Please use complex password. There are different password manager softwares. LastPass is one, and then one password. I think this is LastPass. I don't know whether I put one there. And then there's regular, even in your own browser, the Chrome browser, it can predict, it can actually suggest very complex passwords for you when you're creating a password. Regular software updates for your browser and for your computer. And even for the operating system that you are using. That's, you can talk about VPN. That's a virtual private network that can encrypt your information, so that if you are on if you are browsing, people cannot be able to detail where you are going to. So you can appear as being in the US whilst you are in Ghana. So people are unable to point where the data request is coming from. Okay. But you should know that not all applications that work very well with VPNs. Some of the applications you need to restart your machine so it has a clear, it will clear up all the sessions before you can apply the VPN. For example, if I'm browsing my Gmail account on my normal Ghana MTN browser, MTN data, if I quickly just switch on my VPN, it will now say that I'm in the US. The computer, then the Google account becomes confused because you just said you were here and then all of a sudden you are here. So the session becomes invalid and they have to clear the machine. Sometimes you have to restart the whole machine for it to be able to have a new memory so that you can actually know that you are now connecting from the US. But that's the safety feature they are putting into the VPNs too. Then antivirus and anti-malware is something that you should actually have handy installed on your machine to protect your computer. Okay, we'll do this one next week. But thank you very, very much. As part of the policies, we are discussing policies. I had to develop a privacy policy, and then so let me just point it out here. Oh, sorry. So we'll be looking at this one next week. So develop an incident response plans, and then data security and privacy policies. Okay. So thank you very, very much. I've enjoyed the class myself. Some of the insights that I've shared with you guys. I hope you have. I know you are tired, so sorry about that. So we can close at 8:15 and then you can go and rest. Okay then. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, sir.